Hello, welcome to Godot Game Engine tutorial series. In today's tutorial, we are going to be looking at creating a game menu in Godot Game Engine. Now, this is what we are going to be creating. This is the menu that we are going to be creating. And when you press this button, it's going to switch from game menu scene to the game scene. Now, let's go ahead and get started. Now, the first thing we need to do is to add a root node. As I mentioned in the previous tutorial, Godot scene is always empty, and we need to add a root node which is going to parent all the other nodes added to the scene. Now, to add a root node, we just press this plus button here and search for node 2D and double click on it, and then rename the node as menu scene. Now from here, let's go ahead and save it by pressing Ctrl S and save it inside the scenes folder. Now let's go ahead and add a sprite node which is going to be the ball, and rename this as a ball, and then add the ball by pressing the texture button here, and then we load the texture for this ball rather, and drag it at the center of the screen. Now we also need to do the same for the logo. We just go ahead and duplicate the ball and load the texture for the logo, that is the game title, and rename this as game title, and we drag it up a little bit. Now let's go ahead and add the bars. We can duplicate the game title and rename it as bar. Then we duplicate that 4 times by pressing Command D. So we have bar 1, bar 2, bar 3, bar 4. Now let's go ahead and assign them their textures. The first bar will be bar 1, the second bar will be bar 2, and the third bar will be bar 3, and so on. Now bar 1, bar 2, bar 3, bar 4 is going to be a composite square that can rotate around. Now to achieve such a composite shape in Godot is really simple. All we need to do is to click on the menu scene. We make sure that the menu scene is selected, and then press plus button. Then we add another empty node 2D. Now this is going to be the parent of the composite shape. Now we can name it as a logo rectangle. And then for it to parent the bar 1, bar 2, bar 3, and bar 4, we can just select all of them and drag them into logo 1. Now as you can see, logo rectangle is the parent of all these nodes. However, logo rectangle is at 0, 0. Now we need to rearrange these 4 bars to achieve a square shape. Now first, let's reposition them to position 0. We just click on them and drag them to the origin. Now from here, we need to rotate 2 of them 90 degrees. To rotate them, you just select the one that you want to rotate. Now to rotate this one, you just select the bar that you want to rotate, and then scroll to rot property under the inspector and type 90 degrees. Now this will be 90 degrees. Now we rotate this one to 90 degrees. After rotating the 2 bars, we also need to rearrange all the 4 bars in such a way that they will form a composite square. Now after having a composite square, you can just go ahead and drag the composite square at the center of the screen, and then drag the ball in the middle of this square. Now we can easily rotate this composite square by selecting the root node, the parent for the composite square, that is the logo rectangle. Head over to the rot property and change it to 45. Now this will rotate it to 45 degrees. Now let's go ahead and add the texture buttons. Now to add the texture buttons, we're just going to do the same, just like the way we add the sprite nodes. We're just going to make sure that the menu scene is selected, since it's going to be the parent of the texture buttons, and then press the plus button and type texture. Now this is the node that we are interested in. Let's go ahead and double click it. Now since we are going to use 3 texture buttons for this menu, that is the play button, the info button, and the setting buttons. Now we can just go ahead and duplicate this texture button 3 times by pressing Command D again and renaming the first node as play button, the second node as info button, and the third node as setting buttons. Now we also need to assign the images to these texture buttons. Now to assign the images, don't forget, you just head over to the textures, and then at the normal you just press null and then select the respective image for that node. After adding the 3 nodes, we also need to position the nodes into the screen. Now you can easily do that. You just can drag it up to the position where you want it. Alright, now from here we also want, when the play button is pressed, we switch from the menu scene to the game scene. But right now we don't have a game scene, so we first need to create a game scene. Now let's go ahead and create another scene and rename it as game scene. To create a new scene, we just press the scene button on top here. From there we press new scene, and since this scene also is empty, we need to go ahead and add node 2D to the scene and rename this root node as game scene. And from there we save it by pressing Ctrl S and then saving it inside the scene folder. Now let's go back to the menu scene. We want, when this button is pressed, for the game to switch from the game menu scene to game scene. Now to achieve this, we are going to use a very powerful feature in Godot, which is very simple to use. That is signals. Signals are like event listeners that listen to certain tasks, and when that task happens, they perform something. Now for us to achieve this, we also need to attach a script. This is where the signal is going to be connected. Now to attach a script to the menu scene, let's go ahead and select the menu scene, and from the top here you can see S+ button. Now this is the button that is used to create a script. Now we can also right click on the scene and press attach script. Both ways work. Now let's go ahead and attach a script to the menu by pressing the S+ button, and here we can also select the directory where we want to save the script. Now what I normally like to do is to save all my script in one folder named scripts. Now we just head over to that section and name this script as menu scene.gd, then we press save and then press create. Now this will create the script for us. Today we are not going to talk a lot about scripting, since we are going to cover it in the future tutorials. Now this is the script for the menu scene. Now to attach a signal to this script, let's head over to the 2D. We just press the 2D and go back to it. Now if you select the button that we want to attach the signal to, and then on the left side of the inspector you press this node, and here you will see groups and signals. Now under the signals, there are many signals that we can attach to the menu script. However, right now we are only interested in the press button. Now let's go ahead and select the press button, and down below you will see a button that is connect. This is to connect the signals to the menu script. Now we just press connect, and this will connect the signal to the main script. Now whatever we want to do when the button is clicked, here is the place where we are going to put those logic inside this method. Now to change a game scene in Godot is really simple. All we need is one line of code, that is get tree. Tree is like the parent of all the nodes inside your game project. Now you get the tree, from the tree then you change the scene, get tree.change scene. Now we also need to locate the location of the game scene that we want to switch to. Now to know that, you just press on your scene folder here. Now these are the two scenes that we have, but we want to switch to the game scene. Now we right click on the game scene and copy path. Remember here this is going to be a string, so we need to put the path inside a string. Now let's go ahead and do that. Now let's go ahead and run our project. Remember, for this tutorial I have not selected a default game scene, and it is asking me that I need to select a default scene. I'll go ahead and select my default scene, that is the menu scene, and press run again. Now this is the menu that we created. Now let's go ahead and press the play button, and this will switch the scene from the menu scene to the game scene. That's it for this tutorial. In the next tutorial we're going to be looking at pop-up menus, how to show and hide pop-up menus when the info button and the setting button is clicked. Thank you for watching. See you in the next tutorial.